Honorable Mayor, honorable members of the City Council, Archbishop John Wester, governors, tribal leaders, and friends. In light of the recent controversy over the event that has come to be known as the Santa Fe Fiesta and associated events, the Pueblo governors took action by resolution to request a formal meeting with the mayor and the city council and the archdiocese to engage in principled and respectful discussions and work towards establishing a process to reassess the events surrounding the Santa Fe Fiesta and work towards an amicable resolution and toward a hopeful reconciliation to heal the wounds of the past and the present and establish a lasting legacy of a peaceful celebration of all that exemplifies the beauty of what has evolved over time since those tumultuous times. What we have witnessed recently in the massacre of so many innocent people across the nation should weigh heavily upon all of us to do everything we can in our collective power to ensure that our differences never escalate and manifest itself into all that threatens what we have all come to love of our shared communities, our shared cultures, traditions, friendships, and our relationships. We must all work hard to prevent any such tragic events from coming here to our beloved communities. I want to express our appreciation to our youth for their courage and their vision. How we respond respectfully to these recent events here in Santa Fe will define our values. We must be thoughtful and think deeply and be hopeful that we can rise above the ugliness and hatred and intolerance that is destroying the fabric of our nation. It is not about rewriting history, but sharing the many sides of what happened centuries ago, as was so beautifully articulated in the Santa Fe New Mexican yesterday. It is our sincere hope that we can respond in a way that exemplifies our collective resilience and our perseverance to define a future that we desire most, that our children can be proud of and share in the celebration for generations to come. We are hopeful that we can be the example to the world. I am deeply grateful to the leadership of the mayor and the city council toward this end and to the Archbishop for your willingness to embrace this challenge in the name of celebrating our shared faith toward a shared peace. We come from different journeys, but as our elders teach us, it was prophesied that one day we would come to share our journey together. We believe that it is this time that they foresaw that we would need to come together to define one shared journey. I look forward to our contributions in defining that shared journey for the sake of all of our children. Thank you.
Thank you, Chairman Torres. I'd like to invite the Archbishop up to add any comments on the conversation that's going on between the Pueblos and the Archdiocese.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor, honorable governors, elders, all my friends. Thank you very much for this invitation to say a few words, and thank you for the proclamation of the all governors. We come here today speaking from various perspectives, obviously a perspective of history, a perspective of truth, a perspective of human rights, a perspective of social justice. And many of us come here also, as has been said, from a perspective of faith. I remember when a cathedral in Oakland, California, where I'm from, San Francisco area, was built, Christ the Light. The background of the cathedral is comprised of little dots. that are illuminated from behind, like a newsprint. And when the dots are illuminated, they form this figure of Christ. And it occurs to me that if any of those sources of light are missing, then the figure of Christ, the figure of God, is incomplete. It's marred. It's distorted. When those two young boys were hanged in this very square, the face of God was marred and distorted. Anytime any individual or a culture, a group of people is suppressed or vanquished or belittled, the face of God is distorted and marred. We are called to be able to recognize that principle which is in the Hebrew scriptures and the Christian scriptures and so many other traditions, whether it be Muslim or Buddhist or Jewish or whatever it may be, that is when we come together, it's when we appreciate one another and the dignity of each other, and when we respect our diversity, when we live in peace and reconciliation, it is then that we are strong. When we try to break off and to be superior, we diminish ourselves and we diminish the potential that we have when we come together. When I first came here to New Mexico several years ago, people said to me, well, what do you like most about New Mexico? I said, well, the first thing that comes to my mind is how so many people of so many cultures, particularly our native peoples who are here for thousands of years, come together and live together peaceably and learn from each other and work together for the common good. And it is my prayer that working together with all that Governor Paul has mentioned, that we can continue that rich tradition and continue to grow. In my home in Albuquerque, I have a picture, and it's of a kiva and of a mission church. And I have it hanging on my wall because when Father Jack Clark Robinson gave it to me, the head of the Franciscans here in New Mexico, he said that the archaeologists tried to discover what came first, the kiva or the church. Did they build the church over the kiva or the kiva over the church? And they came to discover that they built them both together. That together they came together and remained together. That's a symbol to me, a sign of how God is calling us to come together so that His face might shine brightly in our midst. Thank you.